All right, gonna go in just a second, get started.
Okay.
Okay, so this is objection handling 102, advanced objection handling. Today, we're going to be a little bit more hands-on than we were last week. Last week, we talked about what an objection was, different types of objections, between a blow-off, a genuine concern, a situation where somebody perhaps just doesn't understand the what's what about it. So let's move forward today with our talks in objection handling. So use the 5 steps that we taught last week, always when I'm handling an objection. What are those? Number 1 is to acknowledge. Acknowledge, don't hide, don't blow off. We talked about this. Sometimes when people talk about, give you an objection, oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's ridiculous. Well, that's dismissing the person. We do that naturally because we, are afraid of objections, and we're just trying to belittle the objection to make it go away, but it's the wrong thing to do. So instead of acknowledge the objection. Yes, I know how you feel. I know others that have felt this way. What they found was by getting listed right away, they were able to get their house sold and move on with their lives. Whatever you have to do to acknowledge it. Ask questions. Always make sure that you know what that objection is and that it's truly the objection. A lot of times you'll get a blow off. A blow off is just hiding from the real objection. Sometimes it's this, they don't want to make a decision today. Other times it's the thought process of, I have to do this or I have to do that, get this done in the house. So we want to ask enough questions so we know what the true concern is. And is there only one concern or are there several concerns? And we don't know that either. Once we have it figured out, we've asked those questions, we next want to confirm. Again, do I understand you correctly? Repeat the objection back to them. You're concerned about, whatever it is, length of listing, commission percentage, what you're paying the buyer's broker, whatever it is, get that out, the price. Yes, is that the only concern we have? Yes. Okay. And now you go in and you handle their objection. You speak to it, you explain. And again, use stories, use anecdotes about how other clients felt this way and they were in a situation where, and tell a story. Again, even if you haven't had a client in those things, learn stories to tell that you're comfortable with. Well, we want to wait until after the holidays. I had a client, or I knew of, I had a friend who had a client that said that, and the problem was the problem with doing that was during the holidays, people that are shopping are very serious. Like most people aren't going to shop during the holidays unless they want to buy a house now. And there are much less houses, so there's a lot less competition. So the house going on the market before the holidays left them with serious buyers and less competition, so they were able to get their price. For the buyers that waited until after the holidays, everybody started listing, preparing for spring buying season. There was more, inventory than there were buyers, and people had to discount their prices. Tell a story, guys. And then once you've told the story and you've overcome it, invite action. Always invite action consistent with what it is they're committed to. You want to be moved in. I used the thing last week. I want to be moved so I can have a Super Bowl party at my new house. This is Mr. Zeltman. You want to be moved in time to have a Super Bowl party at your house, which is the second week in February. In order to do that, we do need to get you moving now. And putting your house on the market during the holidays is going to get you that serious buyer, and you're going to have less competition. So you're going to be able to get, more close to your price. Okay, let's do it. That's how you overcome an objection. Most agents are weak in asking questions. They're afraid. Stop being afraid, guys. I want you to go out in boldness. I want you going out believing in yourself, not afraid to ask questions, not afraid. In fact, I want you to relish in getting these objections. I want you to be like, yeah, man, bring it on, and take it as a challenge. When you do get an objection, you need to ask as many questions as it takes to overcome it. So some objection handling dialogues. If you go into the scripts that I gave you, you can look over these scripts. These are scripts that we're going to practice over the course of time. I want you to practice these every day, okay, until you have your own story that you can tell. And I'm going to have to toggle here, so just give me a moment, please. All right, that's not what I was looking for. Okay. So the first one that we were talking about is somebody that says to you, they either want to save on commission and or they can do a better job. Okay. So this is for sale by owner. And if you see, it all comes down to, we're not going to have to run through all the words in these today. Again, this is something that we will do. Tomorrow we're going to be in person in Lutz, and we're going to do these in person. So please, if you can be there, I'd highly recommend making the trek, because these will make you stronger and better in everything that you do. You'll see that this particular one is about playing cards and playing poker. This may or may not be the right story for you to tell. Again, when I wrote a lot of these trainings, I was living right outside of Atlantic City. So obviously it's a gambling capital of the East Coast. But I want you to be able to tell a story. Do you like to play cards? I love playing cards. Let's pretend you're playing poker. There's $150,000 in the middle. Yeah, I'm sweating bullets. And what should I do? Should I raise? Should I this? Should I that? And basically what the story tells is the fact that if you had a third-party mediator helping you, who's done this numerous times, and it's not their money, they're going to have better judgment and be able to help you have the best odds to walk out of there with that hand. And that's what you need to do as you talk about these types of things where the person says we could do it on our own, or we want to save money on the commission. Well, I understand that, and what you want to do is tell them that story, whether it's about a poker game or about something else that you come up with, where you show them that using an expert gets better results. Number 2 is the director technique. And again, the director technique is the same type of thing. And we'll take a look at it here. So the director technique, the agent basically says, Mr. Seller, if you knew that by doing it on your own, you could lose a sale or maybe lose thousands of dollars, would you go ahead and let me represent you? And the seller says, well, if you convince me you could do a better job, yes. And what the agent does, and they're honest about it. Listen, I can't say that I would do a better job showing your home. You've lived there for 10 years. I'm just getting introduced to it. And I'm not even arrogant enough to say that. But if you knew we would do a better job together, because in partnership with me, you'll actually save money versus losing money from doing it on your own, would you then hire me? And they usually say yes. I mean, nobody wants to lose money. Again, you're always asking questions they say yes to. Never ask a question somebody can say no to. And then so we talk. Let's say a seller goes to a bank and they go to appraise it. Say for 140,000, they appraise it for 130. Now the bank tells the buyers, they tell the attorney. Attorney tells you. And what ends up happening here? Do you ever play gossip in school? What you're trying to let people know here is that you are a director. As a realtor, you're a director. Yes, maybe they do know their house better than you do. That's fine. And maybe they can help you. They will help you with the insights of what to sell for best features and whatever else. But selling a house, and this is something, guys, you'll learn from FSBOs the more you talk to them, is the only thing they think of is the matchmaker game of real estate. And let's be honest, some people, when they get into real estate, a lot of realtors, when they come in, they think that's what this business is. They think this business is, oh, I'm going to ride around in my car and show houses all day and how nice. And well, have my little coffee at Starbucks at 11 o'clock and meet with a client and help them find the dream home. Okay. And that's all well and good. And yes, that is definitely a part of this job, but the real part of this job is not necessarily finding a buyer for a seller or whatever else. The hardest part of selling a house is contract to close. Inspections, appraisals, mortgage contingencies, you name it, anything that can happen and whatever else. And so by explaining that and explaining, and again, this is think of me as a director of a Broadway show, I know how to make all these parts work together. I can market better. Yes, we're going to find you that buyer and we're going to get you a higher price quicker. Yeah, absolutely. That's all true. But there's other parts to this. Making sure that person that comes in your house is actually qualified to buy the house. Making sure that when you're in the house, or when you get the sale, that you and the buyers hopefully know exactly what to do with the home inspection, and how to be realistic and how to deal with that if an issue comes up, how to deal with title, how to deal with mortgage. And so you explain that there's a bunch of different things going on. And, like a kid, if you played the game of gossip, what ends up happening, that message gets lost down the road, as you're going down the street. So, okay. So that's that one. Let me go back. I totally got rid of that one. Okay. Activity number 3 is the one-line fishing technique. I don't really need to show you guys the PowerPoint every time, because all I have in the PowerPoint basically is, let's just go to, the next one, which is the one-line fishing technique. So I'm going to blow through these. Well, yeah, that one I want to have on there. All right. So let's go to the one-line fishing technique. We've talked about this particular technique in this particular objection handling technique in other classes, because I brought it up. And the bottom line is, you're going to show what this one does is it shows the buyer, or the seller, I'm sorry, shows the seller that's thinking about being a for sale by owner, that you have way more ways of finding buyers than they do. And so the story that's told here is, hey, what are you going to do to market? I know you're getting ready to sell a house on your own. What are you doing to market it? Oh, I'm going to put an ad in the newspaper. I'm going to put a little flyer at work. I'll hang one on the bulletin board at the grocery store and the hardware store and the laundromat. Okay. Then you explain all the things that an agent has that they don't have, especially the power of the multiple listing service, putting it all over the internet, Zillow, this, that, and whatever. And yes, they can put a for sale by owner on Zillow, but it's really in a different category and it just doesn't get the exposure. Homes.com, realtor.com, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what you're going to explain to them is like, listen, you may find that, well, all we need is that one buyer, right? Yes. But it may take you forever to find that one buyer. So here's the story. Again, so you define the issue and then you tell the story. What's the story? Let me ask you a question. If you went out fishing with your fishing pole in your little boat, and you kept casting your line, and next to you there was a commercial fishing boat with nets, who do you think would catch more fish? Well, obviously the commercial fisher boat, right? And again, we only need one, but if you're only catching one at a time and it takes 100 people to see your house before you find that right buyer, wouldn't you rather have a net full of bringing in 25, 50 people at a time than you bring in one here, one there? So the bottom line is you're explaining that the odds of selling are greatly increased by using the person that has the net. Okay. Next one, we're going to go to objection handling number 4. Open this up. I went one too far here. The 6 Baker technique. You guys have heard me use this one before. This is one that, again, I had taught this a bunch of times, never really practiced it or whatever. It's just I knew it because of teaching it. I had somebody call me that wanted an open listing. And because they wanted an open listing, I immediately remembered this and we talked about it. So the 6 Baker technique, and again, you can open this, but I don't even need to open it for you guys on here because I gave it to you so you can read through it. But basically the person says, I'll sell it to you, but I want an open listing. In other words, you can sell, or I'm sorry, I'll sell it to you. I'll let you list it, but I'll let any agent list it. So, yeah, you're at Realty One Group Beyond, you can list it. The guy down the street at Coldwell Banker, he can list it. The guy down the street at wherever. I want everybody to list this. And whoever comes back with a buyer, I'm going to give them 4% or I'm going to give them 5%. All right. And you say, so you see how that works. It's the same story as, do you happen to have a daughter? And they say yes or no. Well, just imagine you had a daughter and she was getting ready for a Sweet 16 party. And you wanted to get her the absolute best cake that was ever made. Beautiful cake. So you go to 6 bakers in town and you tell each of the 6 bakers, I'm going to you and 5 other bakers. Whoever bakes me the absolutely most beautiful cake for my daughter's Sweet 16 birthday, I will pay you double what you normally make. How many of those bakers do you think are going to roll up their sleeves, pay for ingredients, spend the time, that they have a 1 in 6 chance of being that one that they buy it from? None of them. So no one's going to work for you. Well, I don't understand. Well, let me understand. We have plenty of clients that have put their trust in us and are committed to us like we are to them. We're going to ensure we get their house sold. One other thing you can throw here, I don't like telling the public this too often, but an open listing situation, it works. Another reason why agents won't do this, and you can tell them this, is statistically only 8% of houses are sold by a listing agent, and only 8% of the time. It's because our marketing is so good and we market to so many other realtors. All right, let's move on to the next one, the pen technique. Again, I'm not going to open this one because, again, you have the handout, you can open it. And again, I want you to learn techniques like this, telling stories like about the fishing line, about the 6 bakers, and now a demonstration like the pen. So this is now, I hate all realtors because I had a bad realtor, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So the seller, you have the seller take a piece of paper, hand them a pen, say, write the word sold. So they write S, maybe capital S-O-L-D, lowercase. You write the word differently, you write it in script. I don't know if all of you can do that anymore because nobody teaches it. Or you put it in all caps, or you do something, you underline it, you do something that's different. And what you explain to them, look, we use the same tool to write the same word, but we got different results. Why? And you go back to that, not all realtors are created equal. Go back, tell the restaurant story about the good restaurant, the bad restaurant that we talk about all the time. Did you stop eating at all restaurants? No. Why would, realtors, they're good, they're bad, they're somewhere in the middle. Unfortunately, sounds like you had a bad realtor. Now you have one of Tampa Bay's best realtors. And speak that way again in stories, and people relate to these stories and they relate to you, they like you and they trust you and they go forward. All right, next one, the airplane technique. Okay. So this one again goes back to for sale by owner. And let me pull this one out for you just so you can see it real quick, because there's a couple of these that use airlines and trains, planes, and automobiles for anybody that remembers that movie. I'm sorry, what number was that? Number 6. Okay, give me just a second. I'll pull that out. There it is. Okay. This is doing the same thing about a realtor telling another great story. Have you ever had a bad experience on a flight? Yeah, I had a really bad flight to wherever, and they tell the story. Let them tell the story. It's allowing them to open up a little bit and share something that, hopefully at this point is not just a bad story, but sometimes maybe there's a little funny stuff in it. Um, so let me ask you something. If you had to go to California today, would you take a plane or would you walk? And they say, well, of course I'd take a plane because I know the plane is better than walking. Right. You get there quicker. You won't have, you won't pass out on the side of the road. You make a joke about it. See, and then what you say is you may never work with that particular airline that you had a bad experience again, but you see the value in flying. So you're not going to rule out flying altogether. And it's the same idea as the restaurant story that I've told you guys over and over and over, or any other story that you want to use. Just because you have one bad experience with this person doesn't mean you're going to have it with everyone. We're not all the same. And most people, once you kind of bring that to light, they get it, and then they say, oh, that makes sense. And they stop, yeah, they still hate that realtor from Remax, but they don't hate you anymore. Number 7, the code of ethics technique. Oh, all you realtors, all you care about is making money and your commission. Da, da, da. What you do is you pull out your code of ethics book, which you guys should all be carrying. And you say, one of the things that's in the code of ethics is that I always put my clients first, blah, 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 blah. I not only carry these code of ethics, I truly believe in them. And I base my career in upholding these ethics. And you go through and you say, I could never, it says in the script, I could never do you wrong. Sounds like a bad 90s song. But but the truth is, if you say that to them and show them right in the book, customer care and putting their and explaining it, the bottom line is explaining to them that you always put your client's needs before anything else. And the truth is, I always tell people this, and I truly mean it. If I help you accomplish what you're looking to do and get you those things, everybody wins. And so my number one goal is not about how many sales I have, how many clients I have, or how many anything. It's making sure my clients are happy, because if you're happy and we get you exactly where you want to be, I'm going to be happy. You're going to refer me to other people, and we're going to have a lifelong relationship that I'm going to value, and hopefully you will too. And so the code of ethics technique is another great one to use. All right, number 8, the window shopping technique. Definitely read through this one, because this is one that you want to be able to tell this story. We want to go, and there's not a realtor out there that's been a realtor for any amount of time that hasn't had this happen. Hey, Bill, we want to go just look at houses and see what's available. Okay, well, have you listed your house yet? No. We want to go see the market and try to find something before we list our house. So they think they're going to go find a house to buy. Then they'll worry about selling their house. People do this all the time, guys. It is a colossal waste of your time. And sadly, it's a waste of their time and a recipe for heartbreak for them. And that's what you need to explain to them. Let me ask you something. Imagine that you went downtown. We went downtown right now. And before we went downtown, you left your wallet here. You had no cash. You had no credit cards. There's no layaway. When you go looking at stuff in the store that we go to, knowing that you can't buy anything, how do you look at those things? Oh, that's nice, but, right? Now, what if you walk in, you have $1,000 in your hand? You think you might walk out buying something? It's the same thing in real estate. When you go and you window shop, even if you find the house that you really want, you can't buy it. And chances are, if we then just put your house on the market after you found it, you're going to be, it's going to be gone, and you're going to be devastated because the house that you loved sold before you were able to even get yours out there. The other part of it is you're going to have a contingency. And we're going to talk about this on other of these coming up, but do you think you're going to get the best deal on a house when somebody knows that you're not in a position of strength. You're in a position of weakness because you still have to sell your house and you haven't even put it on the market yet. So even if they did agree for you to get that house, it's probably not going to be some real friendly terms. So let's do the right thing. Let's get your house on the market, and then we're going to find you the absolute perfect house and have everything set up so you're in a position of strength. Number 9 is the same idea, but it's the driver's seat technique. And that more goes to the second part of what we just talked about, which is you want to be in control of the situation. If I go in and see a house and I love it, and I still have to sell my house, or I haven't even put my house on the market, who's going to give me a deal? When I try to offer them 5,000 under asking price, they're going to be like, no, absolutely not. In fact, we want 5,000 over asking price because we're going to take a risk putting the house taking the house off the market and putting it pending. What if you don't sell your house? You're not in a position of strength. Always tell a story about how they want to be in a position of strength. Okay. Again, being in the driver's seat, being in control of everything. And you do that by doing things in the right order. Hey, I got my house. My house is under contract. It's going to close in 2 weeks. I'd like to make an offer on yours. Oh, awesome. This guy's going to have cash in hand. He's ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. Guess what? I will give him $5,000 off. I'm not giving him $5,000 off if he hasn't even put it on the market or it's not sold yet. So again, learning these, creating your own story inside of this is a great way to overcome any objections you get to somebody that wants to go, oh, let's go see just go see what's out there. The beware technique. We're going into commission now. Hi, Bill. Everything you said was really good. What is your commission rate? Well, here's my menu of services, which if you have not written a menu of services, you need to get with me. Let's write a menu of services with the percentages of what you charge for which and what in there. Oh, so you charge 3%, Bill? Well, or 4%, depending on what program you buy. Well, the guy down the street said he would do it for 2%. Or better yet, they give the discounts out there, they'll do it for 1%. Well, I'd really beware of that person. Well, what do you mean? Well, if they are so willing to give up their commission, first of all, you're hiring this person to protect the value of your house. You want to sell your house for $600,000. If they're willing to cut their price, and you told me they started at 3% and dropped to 2 or to 1, they did that quickly. That's them defending their money. How much do you think they're going to defend your money when they're willing to give their own money away? That part of this works always. You could just use that usually and you're done. Second part is, if they are doing it for 1% or 2%, that means they're going to be cutting services because they have to pay for marketing. You have to pay for, and you go through all the things that we pay for and all and it doesn't just have to be paid things. There's the paid of your time of putting stuff on social media to promote the house. There's the time of running an open house. This is the time of brokers opens. All these things are in your marketing plan. How many of these things are they going to have to cut because they're giving you a discount? I want your house to go out and put your best foot forward so we get you top dollar. I'm not going to negotiate away your price, and I'm going to get out so more people see your house. So we're actually going to make you more money, even though my commission might be a little bit more than theirs, because we're putting our best foot forward to get your house sold for top dollar, not hiring a discount broker to sell your house for a discount. All right, number 11. I told you there'd be another of these. It's the 3 ways to travel technique. So you're looking to, how are you looking to sell your house, Mr. Seller? Are you looking to sell it? You're looking to sell it by yourself? Okay. Well, let me ask you something. If I gave you 3 choices to go from Maine to Southern California, you can take a plane, which is the most expensive, but it gets you there quickest. You can take a train, which is a little bit less expensive, but would take you a couple of days. Or you can take a car, which is the least expensive, but it might take you a week or 10 days to get out there. If you really had to be out there for something, which would you choose? Well, I'd take the plane. You know, I'm not going to sit there on my back sitting in the train or sitting in the car, blah, 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 and all the fatigue and whatever. Yes, well, it's the same thing with real estate. If so, you know, if somebody is, you know, if you're looking to get this place sold and get it sold for top dollar, you really want to take the plane, which is hiring me as an agent. And, you know, and again, you're telling a story. You can also use that story with somebody that wants to use a discount broker. You know, hey, do you want to take the, you know, do you want to take the 1972 Pinto with the bad engine across the country, or do you want to go the plane, you know, go the Learjet and get there quickly and make more money and blah 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 blah. Again, telling stories. Number 12. I love this one. This is again somebody looking to get a discount on commission. Oh, that agent told me they'd do it for 2%. You're telling me 3%. Yeah, so if you had to, God forbid, have brain surgery, and you had your brain surgery lined up, and it's a lot of money, all right? Let's say it's $50,000. And right before you're getting ready to go in for your appointment, you open the newspaper, and there was an ad, and the ad said, brain surgery, 50% off. Call today, just $25,000. Would you call and get the half price brain surgeon? No, of course you wouldn't, because it's too important. Well, guess what? Selling real estate is something that people usually only do once, twice, maybe 3 times in their life. And let's face it, your real estate is one of, if not your largest investment. This is too important to be left to somebody that's willing to do brain surgery, or in this case, sell a house for a discounted price. You get what you pay for. And again, story works perfectly. The brain surgery one, I've seen that used a bunch of times. Of course, it makes people laugh, but at the same time, it really drives home the point. Like, yeah, wait a minute, I'm not, you know, this isn't something small. This is like the most expensive thing I own, or the most expensive thing I'm going to buy. You know, I want the best. And again, you're positioning yourself as the best, as the expert. And that's what we want to do too. Another thing that you're going to have to deal with the next Monday, please do not miss next Monday. Next Monday, we do the pricing conversation. It is one of the most important trainings that we do, because it teaches you to leave with the right price every time. So the objection handling here, this number 13, talks about the right place, wrong bait technique. What does that mean? They want to list it with you, but at a higher price than what the market calls for. I know you're telling me, and I see the house is only worth $550, but I really want to try to get $575 or $600, and they go through this whole long thing. Okay, Mr. Seller, let me ask you something. If we were to go fishing and we dropped a line, but we had bait that no one else liked, or we had bait the fish did like, but we didn't put the bait in the right place, what would happen? A fishing pole would sit there, we'd never catch a fish. Same is true in real estate. If your house is worth $550,000, it's going to compare nicely to other houses that are $550,000. But when you put it in a 575 or a 600 bracket, it's going to be missing things that other houses that are priced correctly in that bracket have. Maybe they all have pools. Maybe they all have an extra bonus room, or they have, you know, this upgrade or that upgrade, or more square feet. And you can go through and just fill in the blanks any which way you want. It's going to make the people that are the fish in this case that are looking at your house, the people that are looking at your house, not interested in your house. Meanwhile, the people that would have loved your house are never seeing your house because they're not swimming there. They can't afford to buy a $575,000 house. This is the same technique that you guys have heard me tell with the right dress, wrong rack technique, which you've heard me tell over and over and over about, you know, Helen going in and wanting to get a dress for $500, but somebody tried on the dress right before, put it on the $600 rack. She scoured the racks, never found the right dress. People look in the $600 rack, said, what is this, thing doing here? It's nowhere near the quality of the rest, and that dress never sold. Same type of story, guys. Right place, wrong bait technique. Learn this. It will help you when you're dealing with somebody that wants to price their house incorrectly. Dollar bill technique. Okay. As I'm looking across the street at a mall there, I know there's not a lot of malls there, but imagine you went out to a mall and you tried to sell dollar bills, and you were selling dollar bills for 90 cents. How fast would they sell? What if you sell them for 85 cents? They'd probably sell it pretty quickly. Somebody might go buy them all to get the 15-cent return on each one. I mean, it's a 15% investment. What if you went to sell them for $1? Well, who's going to buy $1, pay $1? That's a complete waste of time, right? But $1 is worth $1. So let's move forward. What if I try to sell $1 for $1.10? Only an idiot's going to pay $1.10 for something that's $1, right? So what's the point? The point is, if we price it right, people are going to at least stop and talk and whatever, and they're going to look at it. If we price it cheap, we're going to sell it quickly, probably too quickly, and we don't want to do that. But if we go over, nobody's even going to look at our house because it's just not even in the realm of being where it needs to be. All right. The stay firm technique. They want to list with you, but they want to keep the price high so they can haggle. Best way you can overcome this, and there's a great dialogue in here in the stay firm technique, and let me do that first, and then I'm going to give you something else. So just hang on one second. I'm going to open number 15. There it is. Let's get it shared on here. Okay, you can see I wrote this a long time ago when house is worth $150,000 before electricity. All right, anyway. Yeah, I want to try it for 160. Okay, I don't have a problem with that except for this. If we take your house, it's valued at 150 and put it on the market for 140, do you think it would sell quickly? Definitely. What would happen is tons of buyers would come to see your house right away. And the seller says, well, we'd be giving it away. Right. Here, if we listed it for 150,000, we're going to get an average number of buyers to your house and get it sold in the time frame that I showed you because it's fair market comparable. So if we go above fair market, we're going to have fewer potential buyers because of the competition for their home, and it just weeds out more and more buyers. For example, if we list it for $200,000, maybe we'd have one person, if anybody, come see it. So the higher you go, the fewer the buyers. The fewer the buyers, the longer it takes, or it doesn't get anywhere at all. My concern is that when a house stays on the market too long, what happens? It gets stale. Let's use bread. What happens at a grocery store if they're selling bread and it starts to get towards its expiration date? They discount it, right? They mark the price down. But it also gets stale. So some people could care less and they won't even look at it because it's stale. So when a house in the market a while becomes stale, the agents don't show it much. They lose interest in it. It becomes on the back burner, and you sit and you sit and you sit. So you want to package the house from the beginning in its right light. They say there's never a second chance to make a good first impression. It's so true in real estate. So that is an amazing technique, guys, that I highly recommend that you do to get that person that, oh, let's try it. Oh, we're just going to put it at the higher price point. Let's put it there so we can haggle. The other thing that I'm going to teach you next week that is not part of this training, but I want to say it to you because I know some of you, we've already worked through some of this, is you really need to know in a market, especially in a listing point, but with everybody, with your buyers too, what is the list price to sold price average in that community? So for example, I just did a market report on Newport Richey, and list price to sold price on average was about a 3.5–4%, I think, difference, right? So that means for every $100,000, if a house was listed for $100,000, we can expect it to sell for what? $96,500 to $97,000 if it's 3.5%, right? You're trying to get somebody to haggle in a town where it's 3.5%, 4%, but you're going up 20%. Their realtor is going to tell them, well, we could probably get it down to 3.5%. That's the average in this town. And they're going to be like, well, that's nowhere near where I need it to make it worth what it's actually worth. And that's how you go through about how the haggling doesn't work. Especially you get people that have been around a long time, or they're kind of old school with that. They think they can go get a $30,000 off the asking price. And again, with some high number things, whatever. But from a percentage standpoint, the truth is, and I always explain this to people before they go out, when we're looking at buying prices in this town, the average house sells for 3% under the asking price. So in a best case scenario, as long as we don't have competition, we should be able to get this, $400,000 house for, and you give them 3% off of that, which is what, $12,000. So $388,000. That's going to be our goal to get to. Oh, we can't go lower than that. Well, look, this is how, and again, you make it a simple math equation. All right. Number 16, the presentation technique. Presentation technique, and again, you guys can read this over. They want to list it at a higher price, but they don't want to pay work into it. Well, the range for houses in your neighborhood is $300,000 to $325,000. Well, we want to do 325, 330. We want to be top of that. Okay, but your house doesn't have any of the upgrades. Your carpet's worn out. The place needs to be painted. Your shrubs look like hell. You haven't mowed your lawn in a month. And the whole idea is to tell them a story about how, first impressions and how people are going to look at it and how they're going to look at the other houses that they're competing with. So you talk to them and say, look, if you want to get the highest price, I suggest that you do A, B, C, D, and you give them all those things. And then, once you have those done, yeah, maybe we can talk about going for that 325, 330 number instead of the 300 number. And if they say, well, no, we really don't want to put the money or the work into it. Okay, well, then we really need to go at the bottom of the thing, which is 300,000. And again, explain to them why by telling the story, and put them in the buyer's shoes. If you were a buyer, would you buy your house that has a Formica countertop for 330 when the house next door has brand new granite for 325 or also 330? No. Well, how do you think other buyers are going to see this? And again, telling those stories, drawing the pictures in their head works. Number 17. The contractor technique. They want to list, but only for a short term. Okay. This happens not as regularly as people trying to beat you down on the commission. The beating down on the commission is obviously that's a major that's the major objection that you'll get. But they will sometimes, I'm not listing for whatever. We have a realtor here that she had 2 listings and both of them tried that with her. I'll list with you for a month, or I'll list with you for 3 months. And it's like, okay, so what you can do is a couple things. And one of them is tell this story. Let me ask you a question. If you were a contractor and came up to me and said you wanted to add an extension on my house, and I wanted to know how much and how long, you tell me how much. And I said, and you say it was approximately 6 months. So I say, sure, price is not a problem at all, but I want it done in 3 months. Would you take the job? And the seller says, well, I'd probably charge more because I have to hire more people, blah, blah, blah. I got to get the, maybe have to pay for extra shipping to get things shipped quicker, the materials. And the agent says, okay, so you're going to charge more. That's a good point. But what if you couldn't charge more? Would you take the job? Seller says, probably not. Why? Because it's going to take as long as it does. You're going to have this person screaming and hollering. You promised me 3 months and it's not, which means you have to pay more. So you say to them, well, if you want me to do this in 3 months or a month or whatever, I'm going to have you pay me out of pocket up front for the marketing cost. And instead of charging you 3%, I'm going to have to charge you 5%. And of course, the seller is going to be like, well, I don't want to pay anymore. And you say, well, I don't want you to pay anymore either. So let's keep it at 6 months. Okay. And you're done. So that's another good one. Again, to keep in your chest of stories to tell. And again, guys, you don't have to tell these stories basically this way. Take from these stories and create your own. All right, number 18 is the right recipe technique. Again, person wants a short listing. So what you say to them is, hey, if you were going to go and you had a recipe and that recipe called for 4 eggs and you went to the store, how many would you buy? Well, I'd buy a dozen, or maybe even a half dozen, Yeah, okay. Why wouldn't you just buy 4? Well, they don't sell them that way. Not only that, what happens if you break one, or, you might need them for something else? Same thing's true with a listing. I make my listings at 6 months because I use a 6-month marketing plan that's reinforced. Usually it doesn't take me 6 months, especially in the market we're in right now, to get your house sold. But just in case I do need that extra time and I have all this marketing money invested in your house and I'm going to have it out there, that's why I need the 6 months. Okay, and they get it. So again, that's a good one to tell the egg story. All right. Contract to settlement. Here's the other one. Seller wants less than a 6-month contract. Listen, again, I need to, and the story goes the same kind of way. You say, hey, look, we need that time, but I also need protection for the time that once we get under contract to get to closing. One way I could do it, if you want to do 4 months or 3 months, is, I earn my commission the second I get this under contract. If you'd like, you can pay me my commission that I've earned at the time of contract. If you want to do it short. If we do the 6 months, you can pay me like most people do, which is at the closing table out of the proceeds. Oh, I don't want to pay, $20,000, $10,000 out of pocket. I can't do that. Okay, so let's stick with 6 months. Boom. That's that one. Final one. I do this all the time. If you haven't been here when I've done this before, I'll do it again. But I usually take a circle, make a circle, and I put a dot in the middle of the circle. What I always say is the dot in the middle of the circle is what you know. The area inside the circumference of the circle is what you know that you don't know. Like if you came to me and said, can you do a complicated trigonometry? No, I can do basic trig. I can't do complicated. I know that I don't know that. Outside of the circle, which is infinite through the universe, are things that I don't know that I don't know. And so when you're having a conversation, you're talking to the person and they're saying, well, I can do everything a realtor can do, blah, 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 blah. Take this little box out, get it for you, and share this with them. This is an old organizational leadership technique. This is what you get. You pay $100,000 for a doctorate and they teach you how to do stupid little tricks. Okay. You guys can see that? All right. What you tell them is that realtors can do things to sell a house that you probably don't even know exist. Selling a home is much more complicated than just putting a sign in the yard and adding the paper and finding a buyer, running an open house, finding a buyer. Let me explain. What I want you to do is I want you to draw a line through these 9 dots, and you can only use 4 lines, and you cannot lift your pen. So if you're doing this, if you guys can see my mouse, you kind of go here, and you're going here, 2, but I got this one. Oh my God, it's impossible, right? It looks impossible. And it is impossible. And again, it's because people don't think outside the box. They don't know what they don't know. Here's how you do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see by going outside of this, and what you explain when you show it to them is here's how you accomplish this. And as you can see, sometimes there are different ways to accomplish your goals that you may even know about. As a realtor, I use all kinds of marketing tools and systems that most people do not even know about. An example, and you can put whatever example you want in there. It allows me to get more people to see your listing and to get more buyers to your door than you could do by yourself. Some tips to remember. Number one, your number one job is to help the seller reach whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. Always keep that in mind. No matter what their objection is, no matter what it is, go back to what they're committed to. Be fully 100% committed to helping them get to what they're committed to. Number two, never take an objection personally. Realtors are all idiots. It's not aimed at you. It's aimed at the profession, or it's aimed at the bad realtor they had the last time they listed. Learn the truth beneath the objection and address it. Many objections, like we talked about last week, are blow-offs, or they're just a mask to what the real objection is. Learn the truth behind it and address it. Don't be afraid of it. Like we said early on, one of the biggest things to do is, yeah, they give you an objection. Yeah, no, that's crazy. Nah, that never happens. It's not the way to do it. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it. Learn the truth behind it and address it. That way you're not just being dismissive of the person, and they realize that you actually do care and want to answer all their questions. Okay,